I've been potting plants for a couple years now, and I've had mixed results. I've used the same soil almost every single time, a mixture that I've been making at home that contains a lot of organic material as well as perlite and sand, and it has done really well for me with some plants. My olive trees in pots, my lemon trees in pots have all thrived. They've done really well. But even other citrus like my Bear's lime tree and my Valencia orange tree have not done so well, including some other landscape plants that I've tried. The results there have also been mixed. So I wanted to get a baseline and see how the soil can affect potted plants. Is using an organic mixture with soil-like materials better than going with a soilless mix? So I went out and got 2 mandarin orange trees, almost identical, from the same nursery, the same size, in the same original soil. I bought them at the same time, and I bought them with 2 brand new pots that are identical. The only thing we're going to change about either of these plants is the soil that they're potted in. I went to the store and got a regularly available potting mix from Kellogg. It has things that resemble soil, like composted poultry manure. It's going to have kelp meal, has recycled aged forest products, and just things that either resemble soil or will break down into soil. I also went out and got a bunch of material to make my own soilless mix. Things like peat moss, cocoa coir, pumice, perlite, sand, even biochar, to see if I can make a mix that is high quality and at a moderately cheap price. So today we're going to pot into these 2 different mixtures. The Patio mix should be pretty easy to pot into, but I do need to make this soilless mix, so let's get to it. For those of you unfamiliar with the concept of a soilless mix, it's just a potting mix that uses materials that either don't break down at all or take a really long time to break down. We got our first 2 ingredients, sphagnum peat moss and cocoa coir. These are the main water and nutrient holding materials. The sphagnum peat moss can be a little hydrophobic if it goes dry, so the cocoa coir will help solve that, which should have a similar effect to the wetting agents they use in potting mixes. We added the sand, here comes the perlite, and finally the pumice. You may notice I'm using exact ratios of all of these, except for this final one, biochar, which allegedly helps plants retain water and nutrients, as well as fighting off fungal diseases. All right, finally, let's break out this plant and pot it into the Patio Plus mix first. Gotta press all around the edges, including down at the bottom of the pot. Be careful, you don't wanna rip the roots. You wanna try to avoid ripping this out. It helps if the soil is a little bit drier, but now I want to loosen up the compacted soil at the bottom, tease out these side roots, and get it ready to be potted. You can see at the bottom of this pot there's drill lines, and that's because the center of this was elevated and I wanted to avoid pooling at the base, so I just created those little channels for water to seep out from. The potting soil was a bit chonky, so I just broke it up. And now time to check the level of our plant. Whoops, not quite there yet. Add a little more soil, and that looks about right. Check it out with the broom, find the level. I'm trying to maximize the pot, so I want to make sure that the root flare is about 2 inches below the top of the pot. All right, soil mix done. On to the soilless. Same process on this guy. Let's loosen it up. Since this mandarin tree was going to be in the soilless mix, I definitely wanted to get more of the original soil out, and that's why I'm roughing it up a little bit. Trust me, it'll be fine. Give it a little patty cakes and let's find that level. All right, forgot to fertilize the first plant at first. We'll get to that in a second. I'm using a citrus tone here, which is an organic slow release fertilizer. This is more important for this mix because these fertilizers have the mycorrhizal fungi, and since this mix is pretty sterile, we're gonna need to give it some life, which is also why I'm putting a little bit of this Patio Plus on top of this one. It's considered beneficial to put compost on top of a mix like this, just don't bury it. Looking good. We got our soil mix here and our soilless mix here, and I realized I just forgot to put that same organic fertilizer, the citrus tone, on the soil mix, so I'm going to do that right now. Just want to keep things pretty even. Work that in. So, last step. We're going to do some slow release pelletized fertilizer because the organic fertilizers don't break down as well in pots. They take quite a bit longer time. So throwing this on the mix will give it a good little start. 2 scoops of each. We're just gonna add a little layer of bark. All right, now we just gotta water them in. All right, let's mark these just so we don't have to actually dig into the soil and check. Our mandarins are looking good in their new homes. They're fresh soil, and I'm excited to see how these things grow. I'm gonna be doing updates at different intervals over the next couple of years to show you how these things evolve and see if some of my assumptions are right about these different mixes. So if you wanna follow along, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and I'll see you again soon.